Welcome to History Today, Episode 2, Abraham Lincoln and the Funeral Train.
On April 21st, 1865, the train carrying the coffin of President Abraham Lincoln departed the train station in Washington, D.C. on its way to Springfield, Illinois, where he would be buried on May 4th. The train was dubbed the Lincoln Special. It was ceremoniously decorated, and his portrait was fastened to the front of the locomotive. Approximately 300 people accompanied the body of the slain president on the 1,654-mile journey, including his eldest son, Robert. Also on the train was the casket containing a body of another of Lincoln's sons, Willie, who had died during the president's second term in 1862 at the age of 11 because of typhoid fever. The casket was removed from the grave in Washington, D.C. so that he could be taken to Springfield and buried in the family plot with his father. The train traveled through 400 cities and towns of all sizes in 7 states. Scheduled stops were published in newspapers. There were 13 major stops. At many of the stops, Lincoln's coffin was taken off the train, placed on a decorated horse-drawn hearse, and led by solemn parades to a public building for viewing. Thousands of mourners paid tribute to the assassinated president. After a 24-hour public viewing in Springfield, Illinois, Lincoln's coffin was closed on the morning of May 4th. He and his son were buried in Oak Ridge Cemetery in a limestone vault. A number of U.S. presidents were transported by trains. Among those are Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, Ulysses S. Grant, William McKinley, Warren G. Harding, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and George H.W. Bush. Anyone can have a funeral train. You just have to have the money to rent the train. Funeral trains are normally used by leaders, national heroes, and government officials. However, funeral trains were fairly common in Lincoln's day for everyone. It was a way for a family in the country to get a family member who had died to the city to be buried. The one fact that kept this from being a usual funeral train was the contents that it carried.
Check out these new and exciting programs coming soon to the Joliet Public Library. The Nippersink Rogues Irish Band will be performing at our Black Road branch on Wednesday, March 12th from 7 to 8 p.m. The quartet will perform rousing Irish music as St. Patrick's Day approaches. This event is for adults only. Registration is required. Can I pet that dog? Yes, you can. You can pet that dog. You can pet that dog anytime between 4 o'clock and 5:30 p.m. on March 13th or April 10th at our Ottawa Street branch. The Alliance of Therapy Dogs team will be here with some of their specially trained furry friends for you to meet and pet. This event is for adults only. Registration is required.
Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States, serving from 1861 until his assassination in 1865. He led the United States through the American Civil War, defending the nation as a constitutional union, defeating the Confederacy, playing a major role in the abolition of slavery, expanding the power of the federal government, and modernizing the U.S. economy. The following are some other facts that may be lesser known. In no particular order, Lincoln and some friends took goods, including live hogs, by flatboat to New Orleans, Louisiana, where he first witnessed slavery. He was a Whig Party leader and then joined the then-new Republican Party. He was an Illinois legislator and a U.S. Senator. Some people did not like Lincoln, even going so far as to plot his assassination. His Gettysburg Address became one of the most famous speeches in American history. In 1863, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared the slaves in the states in rebellion to be free. It also directed the Army and Navy to recognize and maintain the freedom of said persons and to receive them into the armed services of the United States. Lincoln served as a captain in the Illinois militia during the Black Hawk War. When Lincoln returned home from the Black Hawk War, he planned to become a blacksmith, but instead formed a partnership with a friend with whom he purchased a New Salem general store. Lincoln also served as New Salem's postmaster and later as county surveyor. He supported the construction of the Illinois and Michigan Canal and later was a canal commissioner. He was admitted to the Illinois bar on September 9, 1836, and moved to Springfield to begin a law practice. Lincoln appeared before the Illinois Supreme Court in 175 cases. He was sole counsel in 51 of those cases, of which 31 were decided in his favor. From 1853 to 1860, one of his largest clients was the Illinois Central Railroad. His legal reputation gave rise to his nickname, Honest Abe. On November 6, 1860, Lincoln was elected the 16th president. He was the first Republican president, and his victory was entirely due to his support in the North and West. No ballots were cast for him in 10 of the 15 southern slave states, and he won only 2 of 996 counties in all of the southern states. His victory in the Electoral College was decisive. Lincoln had 180 votes to 123 for his opponent. Lincoln is largely responsible for the Thanksgiving holiday. Thanksgiving had become a regional holiday in New England in the 17th century. It had been sporadically proclaimed by the federal government on irregular dates. Lincoln declared the final Thursday in November of that year to be a day of Thanksgiving. In 1864, Lincoln approved the Yosemite Grant enacted by Congress, which provided unprecedented federal protection for the area known now as Yosemite National Park. Lincoln is remembered as a martyr and a national hero for his wartime leadership and for his efforts to preserve the Union and abolish slavery. He is now often ranked in both popular and scholarly polls as the greatest president in American history.
Check out these new and exciting programs coming soon to the Joliet Public Library. Taylor Swift's Literary Lyrics. Join presenter Jez Lehman on Thursday, March 27th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. as she explores Taylor Swift's literary references through her discography, featuring works like The Great Gatsby, Pablo Neruda, Sylvia Plath, and more. This event is adults only. Registration is required. Bingo! What else is there to say? You already know the drill. Come by our Ottawa Street branch on Wednesday, March 19th from 7 to 8 p.m. and join us for your Meemaw's favorite game. Wait for your numbers to be called and try to win prizes. This event is for adults only. Registration is required.
John Wilkes Booth was a well-known actor and a Confederate spy from Maryland. Though he never joined the Confederate Army, he had contacts with his Confederate Secret Service. After attending Lincoln's last public address on April 11, 1865, Booth devised a plot to assassinate the president. When Booth learned of the Lincoln's intent to attend a play with General Grant, he planned to assassinate Lincoln and Grant at Ford's Theater. Booth had attended a dress rehearsal the day before to better rehearse his scheme for shooting Lincoln. Lincoln and his wife attended the play Our American Cousin on the evening of April 14th, just 5 days after the Union victory at the Battle of Appomattox Courthouse. At the last minute, Grant decided to go to New Jersey to visit his children instead of attending the play. At 10:15 in the evening, Booth entered the back of Lincoln's theater box, crept up from behind, and fired at the back of Lincoln's head, mortally wounding him. Lincoln's guest, Major Henry Rathbone, momentarily grappled with Booth, but Booth stabbed him and then he escaped. After being attended by medical doctors, Lincoln was taken across the street to Peterson House. After remaining in a coma for 9 hours, Lincoln died at 7:22 a.m. the morning of April 15th. Lincoln's body was placed in a flag-wrapped coffin, which was loaded into a hearse and escorted to the White House by Union soldiers. President Johnson was sworn in later that same day. 2 weeks later, Booth, refusing to surrender, was tracked to a farm in Virginia. He was mortally shot and died on April 26th.
Check out these new and exciting programs coming soon to the Joliet Public Library. One-on-one tech help. Learn more about your computer, smartphone, or tablet with our 30-minute one-on-one personalized tech help sessions. Both English and Spanish sessions are available Monday through Thursday at our Ottawa Street branch, with English-only sessions on Tuesdays at our Black Road branch. These sessions are for adults only. Please see our website at jolietlibrary.org for updated times and availability. The History of the Blues Brothers. Join Professor Moptop of Chicago's 93XRT at our Black Road branch on Wednesday, March 26th from 6:30 to 7:45 p.m. as he delves into Blues Brothers Saturday Night Live appearances as well as film and albums. This event is for adults only. Registration is required.
From April 19th to the 21st, the late president lay in state, first in the East Room of the White House and then in the Capitol Rotunda. The caskets containing Lincoln's body and the body of his third son, Willie, then traveled for 3 weeks on the Lincoln Special. The train followed a route from Washington, D.C. to Springfield, Illinois, stopping at many cities for memorials attended by hundreds of thousands. Many others gathered along the tracks as the train passed, with bands, bonfires, and hymn singing, or in silent grief. The Lincoln funeral train passed through Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Indiana, and finally Illinois. The first stop in Illinois was in Chicago, then Bridgeport, then Lamont, then Lockport, and then Joliet. It continued on through Elwood, Wilmington, Gardner, Dwight, Pontiac, Towanda, Atlanta, Elkhart, and finally arrived in Springfield. The Joliet Republican, the Joliet Signal, and the Chicago Tribune all report that the train stopped at the Joliet station, the Chicago and Alton station, at midnight, May 3rd. The Union Station was not built until 1912. The Chicago and Alton Station was located across from where the Union Station is now, on the northeast corner of Jefferson Street. Several thousand people gathered at the station. The station had been decorated, there was a band and a choir that performed, and according to the newspapers, mourners were allowed to walk through the train to pay their respects. The train left Joliet, arriving in Springfield on May 3rd at 9 a.m.
This podcast was brought to you by the Joliet Public Library Digital Media Studio in conjunction with the Joliet Public Library Local History Room. If you have any comments or questions about the content of this podcast, please contact Anneta Drilling at 815-846-3112 or email her at adrilling@jolietlibrary.org. This is Patrick Maloney, and I'll see you next time when history repeats itself.